Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. And yeah, place is still on fire.
So yeah, we talked about it a little bit before we start recording, but the comments are saying behind.
Yeah, so I don't even know how to dig. But well, I guess I gotta have to remove the lava from all of them, let it go down, and then fill in any holes that I see.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying.
It's just it's gonna be really annoying to try to do that. But I mean, I'm trying to think why from behind though. How does that make any sense that the fire can get to where
No, I
it's
don't
burning?
understand either.
But multiple people said
smart.
that in the comments, and I mean, clearly, clearly it's on fire. So I have to trust that they know more than I do.
So what was going on last time we recorded?
Fire.
Well, yeah. No, I meant like in our live things we talked about.
Things we talked about. I don't remember.
Oh, anything changed with the Australia trip?
No, a lot of people are saying I should go. We basically have decided.
I read your comments because whatever we talked about, it was the cone. Apparently, Cone turned that episode off immediately. He wouldn't even watch it.
I want to know his story now, though, because a lot of people are saying that you've misrepresented the story.
They did say that, and I feel like I went out of my way to represent Cone's side because I felt like no matter what you were, I mean, not no matter what, but I felt like me and you were gonna have the same opinion on this. So I already went into the thing like feeling like, well, I got the win here. So like I was trying to make it more of a Cone
worthy.
Yeah. So I don't know if I didn't do it on purpose. I really kind of wanted you to have an opinion that more supported Cone than me in the end.
Yeah. It makes me curious on why do they think that I would have supported or that you misrepresented. Like what exactly is going on that you're misrepresenting in some way, shape, or form? And
Cone didn't listen to it. We talked about it, but he didn't listen to the episode, so he can't tell me because he said that he also saw the comments. And I was like, "Well, how did I misrepresent you?" And he's like, "I don't know. I didn't watch it." Yeah.
Well, at least if he came over and watched the comments, it still gave me a view.
Yeah,
whether he watched it or not. So yeah, we talked about that. We talked about the Australia trip, which everybody's telling me not to cancel. Though I think at this point we basically have to cancel.
Well, I think that the reason why people are saying not to cancel is you probably represented it. You represented it more as the fires were a good reason to cancel.
True, and there's a lot more involved than just that, because
like
there's the medical stuff. Well, it's the medical stuff with my wife's parents, and then the kids. Therefore, because like part of what we're there for is, as you know, we're supposed to be going to the medical conference that's there, the HL7 conference, and it's kind of hard to do that if we don't have anybody to watch the kids when we're there. So it makes it really difficult. So yeah, you're right. There's strictly from the Australia fire standpoint, we probably were okay from what we're saying. Though I still struggle with it because there's just.
We are going to be mostly in Sydney, right? And like, I feel like Sydney's not on fire.
But Sydney might not be. But where are they evacuating all these people to?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
And that's where I'm kind of like, okay, I still have a thought process that I have some type of feeling that you're
going to be in the way, basically.
Right. Like you shouldn't be there because it's just. But I mean, I guess maybe I'm wrong. But yes, but there definitely is a lot more to it than just the wildfires. So those saying that I should go based on the wildfires itself, I can sort of buy that without my slight reservations about if we're displacing people who need to be placed, undisplaced. So yeah, so it is sad that looks like that we're not going to go, but it looks like we're going to lose a shit ton of money though.
Yeah, that really sucks.
Yeah, like $2,000 is gonna be out the drain.
Let me tell you about losing money.
you sir, tell me about the money loss.
Well, I had this weird thing happen. So about 2 weeks ago, I got a thing in the mail about before I go into the story. In the top right hand corner.
Did you fall for a Nigerian?
No.
Are you sure?
But before I get into the story, can you tell me how to make it stop telling me to punch a tree to collect wood in the top right hand corner?
Punch a tree.
Well,
and
collect
wood. It'll make it stop real quick saying that. It'll say a lot of other things. But
right, it's gonna tell me to do a different thing if I do that. I just want it to stop telling me. I don't know where that's at though.
Yeah, I actually don't know if there's a don't give me achievements thing. Oh no,
it's not even the achievement. It's just like it's a tutorial. Basically,
it is kind of interesting. You'd think that they would have made this game by now be like, if you log in on an account that you've already done this on this server, like how does it not know that?
Right? Yeah, that's a good point. This is God, it's annoying. I'm sure everyone's like, you idiot that's here. How long have you been playing this game? God, where would it be? Anyways, I want
to hear about
I'll
this
punch a
losing,
tree.
this losing money.
So all right. So I get a letter in the mail from Volkswagen saying that there's been a class action lawsuit about the timing belt on my particular Beetle, and there's also some Audis that are affected.
Just so you know, with class action lawsuits, usually the consumer isn't paying them.
Yes. No. Listen, let me tell the story, Jeff. All right, so and it's so it's not a recall.
Can you imagine though if somebody really thought differently and they're like, God damn it, another class action lawsuit.
Right?
Open up the
out
wallet.
Again.
Here we go.
Let me write a check. Linda, get the checkbook. Anyways, it was, it's basically about reimbursement if your timing chain fell. They apparently were known to fail. People filed a class action lawsuit about it. And if you have had this happen and you paid out of pocket or whatever, then, Volkswagen's going to reimburse you the X amount based on how many miles your car had at the time and when it was bought and all these other things. Right. So, and I've gotten tons of these class action things in the mail, not from Volkswagen, but from other places. A lot of times it's like a settlement where it's like, all right, we're going to give you, a check for $10 or whatever. And half the time I don't respond to those because it's really dumb because it's got that one line where it's like, and if you don't respond to this, then you'll still be able to bring litigation yourself. And I'm always like, do I really want to be able to bring litigation later? Maybe or do I want this $10? And so half the time I'm like, I don't take the $10 because I'm like, well,
you're like, what if I decide I want to sue them later?
Right? I'm not ever gonna. But anyways, so this hadn't happened to me. My timing belt was fine, so I threw the thing in the garbage. I was like, all right, well, this doesn't pertain to me. Goodbye.
Not the timing belt, like the You didn't throw the timing belt in the garbage.
No, I wouldn't even know what a timing belt was to take it off of a car. For being honest here,
I think most people wear them on their wrist and call them a watch.
Right? I have an iWatch. I don't need this, Mel.
I don't need this timing belt. This Volkswagen watch. I don't need it.
So anyways, I threw this thing in the trash and whatever. So fast forward to Monday night of this week, my timing belt failed. And it fucked up my engine.
But the class action lawsuit ain't gonna help you with that.
Well,
you would have gotten $10, and now you have the possibility of litigating in order to get the rest of your money.
Right?
Sounds like a blessing in disguise to me. Sounds like you just made millions. Because your neck really hurts too, right?
Exactly.
When this happened.
No, luckily, so I'd taken my daughter to dance, and I went and got food and stuff, and my check engine light came on while I was out getting food, and I was like, well, there's that. And then I pulled up and parked in front of the dance studio and waited for her to get done. It was like a car line where you pick her up from when she comes out. And whenever she came out, I went to start my car, and it started and then it stopped. And I was like, I've had that happen before, when it's cold and stuff, kind of like a false start. And so that's all I thought it was. And so I went to start it again. And then it didn't sound like it was getting any gas. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And so I gave it a little bit of gas, and it did the same thing. It started and then clunked off. And I was like, oh.
I'm surprised you get it to start. Because if you're talking about a serpentine belt, which is what
now you just gave it a new fucking name. Is it a snake?
I'm pretty sure that you're referring to the same. Now I'm gonna is a timing belt. The serpentine belt. The serpentine belt and the timing belt are all important parts of the engine. Serpentine belt does more than work.
These shit's important.
Serpentine does more work than a timing belt. So where's the timing belt at then? Timing belt
is timing belt and timing chain
shaft. Okay, so I was thinking of the serpentine belt. You're talking about the timing belt, which is in the crankshaft. Okay, it's a different part than I was thinking.
Okay, well, after that, when I tried it the third time, it just turned over and nothing happened. And so I was like, oh, well, car broke. So I called AAA and had them, and I'm missing part of the story. The day before, I had called Volkswagen to schedule an oil change for Wednesday. So this was Monday. Actually, I'd called them on Monday. So I'd literally called them that day to schedule an oil change for Wednesday, and then that night my timing chain broke. So I called AAA and I was like, well, just tow it to Volkswagen because I'm supposed to bring it there on Wednesday anyways. So they tow it to Volkswagen, and I get the call the next day, and he's like, well, your car's here. It's not supposed to be here till Wednesday, but it won't start either way. And I'm like, yeah, no, right? I was like, I don't know why, but it didn't. And I told him the whole story. And he's like, well, you know, I got to charge you like $200 for the diagnosis, and then we'll let you know what we find. I'm like, all right, well, I guess get started. And so he calls me back and basically tells me all that. And he's like, you know, we don't have record of your last oil change, your last maintenance. And so he goes over this whole thing, like, you know, he's like, I'm aware of this lawsuit and all this. He wasn't allowed to really talk about it. I guess there's like, they have rules there. They're not allowed to talk about this thing.
It's like the lawsuit is Fight Club.
Basically, yeah. And so like, he's like, I can't give you any advice on what you need to do and all this. And I was like,
I can't give you any advice, but use litigation on what to do with any of this litigation.
Well, so the class action lawsuit also covered if it failed currently, instead of going through and getting like part of their settlement agreement was anyone that has it fail, did they cover that too. So like I don't have to pay out of pocket. Well, you shouldn't have to pay out of pocket, but there was fine print that if any maintenance wasn't 100% done on time, that it's all out the window. So he was like, you know, I don't see you having a current oil change, so you're gonna have to pay for this. And oh shit,
really?
I got my lights off just in time there. And so anyways, we like went back and forth about this, and like anyways, today I went down there and I like signed an affidavit saying that I got an oil change in Charlotte when I was visiting my mom that I don't have a record of because it wasn't at their dealership.
Okay.
But yeah, I had to sign this affidavit saying that there was an oil change that they don't have a record of in order for them to cover because otherwise it was going to be $3,000 to fix this timing chain. But here's the part I wanted to talk about. So he's like, all right, so there's this class action lawsuit. We know about that and all this. But it only covers the timing chain itself. It doesn't cover any of the parts around it when the timing chain fails. And I'm like, what? I was like, so why didn't y'all just do a recall then? Because like when it fails, it's gonna break other shit, right? Like that's my understanding at least. So that's kind of what I want to talk about, like the whole like money thing. I mean,
it wouldn't necessarily break other shit, but if it does, and there's a recall or not a recall, a class action lawsuit about it, I don't understand how they can't be liable and how that,
right?
I don't understand how that could fly. And
well, that's what I thought. And he was very stern about that. Like he's like, you know. He's like, you know, if we can get Volkswagen to agree that you did have this oil change, they will cover the timing chain, but then any other parts, you know, it's going to be on you. Anyways, he gave me a quote of $3,000 for the stuff that wasn't just the timing chain, the things around it, basically. And so like, luckily I looked this shit back up online and found the like actual litigation that took place and the actual like settlement agreement and all this. And like based on when I bought my car and like the number of miles I had on everything, it says it's supposed to cover 100% of any damage to the engine, period. Because my car has under 60,000 miles and it's less than 5 years old.
Okay.
So if both those things are true, the class action lawsuit says that they cover everything, basically.
Does it say anything about the oil change?
It does. It says any maintenance that missed voids the whole settlement, basically. So if you miss any maintenance at all, you're just right out. But then like I talked to this guy more and more, and he's like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but there is a thing where you can like fill out an affidavit and say that you did get the maintenance that we don't have records of. So that's what I had to do. I had to go out there today and sign an affidavit saying that I have got an oil change that they don't have record of. And then he sent that to Volkswagen, and they finally agreed to pay for my shit, basically.
So they are going to pay for it all, though.
They are going to pay for it, but like it was a process.
Which,
to get
and
this.
it should not have been a process like that.
Right. That's what I felt like, at least.
I mean, so class action lawsuits in general confuse the hell out of me on why they're even allowed to exist the way they do, because usually you end up getting out of them, like you said, like $10. And it's because they end up having this agreement with a court that they have to pay X number of dollars. So that's why the whole one with the FCC right now, that everybody was signing up for their $150 or whatever they thought they were going to get from the FCC, or $300 or whatever it is, that people are really going to get like $2.25 because so many people have signed up for it. I don't understand how that's legal. You've been told that you've cost customers this money that they shouldn't have been cost. How are you not obligated to refund them fully?
Yeah, I think that's weird. It's what I feel like that's a failure of the courts, because like they're not properly assessing the value of the damages, is what it feels like there. Because it's like
you can sit there and say, well, we can't let the company go out of business. It would bankrupt them. Well, you could bankrupt customers with the money that you've charged them that they shouldn't have been charged.
Right.
Or the pain and the heartache that they've gone through for whatever reason. You don't know the circumstances behind all those people.
Well, that's the whole problem with this whole too big to fail attitude in general, I feel.
Government bailouts and all that stuff.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like, look at the housing market and everything. Like, nothing changed. Like, we're right back in a fucking another bubble that's just gonna burst at some point.
Right.
So I don't know.
Not my house though.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not that bad. The bad faith loans that got us in the problem to begin with. Like, you and Julie obviously can pay for your shit. So yeah, your house doesn't actually, in my opinion, qualify.
Well, our houses are just overly inflated in price because of where we live. However, it needs to stay that way. Otherwise, I just lost a lot of money. Though I would love to see it go down, because it's so overly inflated in this area for no reason. And that's so weird to me about the way our country works. Do we have a good source of lava? I don't remember.
I don't know of one.
Shit.
I don't know where we were getting our lava from before. I mean, you only need like 8 source blocks, right?
Yeah, I just used all the ones that I have, and I need one.
Gotcha.
2, it looks like 2 more, and we'll have this thing all done. Yeah, so the whole concept of the class action lawsuit, I think it is a failure on, I don't know if it's a failure on the court system, or if it's a failure on just on big business, or like you said, the mentality of too big to fail that, that some people do have. I do find it funny. It's like you talk about, the government needs to bail out the car companies because it's all these American jobs. And like, I get that to an extent, but all of a sudden, if the government is just paying for people to, that was an explosion, to like, for a company to stay in business so they can continue to pay employees, how is that circle working, really?
Right.
The government's in debt. The company's not making money. So instead of having them
isn't the government too big to fail? Like, maybe we should stop giving away. We're already, trillions in a deficit. Remember when we didn't have a deficit?
No.
Whenever there was no national debt?
No, I don't. I don't know when that was.
Do you not?
Uh-uh.
Whenever Bill Clinton left office, there was 0 national debt. He got rid of all of it during his time as president. So the trillions.
I did not know that.
Yep. That's the last time we were at a 0 balance.
That was not that long ago.
I know, right? That's the crazy part. It isn't that long ago. And the fact that it's trillions now, like, what the fuck?
Military parade.
Yeah, right?
Oh, God. Yeah, I'd say so. I don't know what fundamentally needs to change. And I also get people... and there's so many back and forths to this concept of argument, but people don't want jobs lost to automation because that's another worker that's out of business. Well, how do you continue technologically advancing if you refuse to let advancements happen?
That's one of the things that keeps frustrating me is people keep arguing about this $15 minimum wage. And one of the biggest arguments I see to the $15 minimum wage is McDonald's is putting up screens and then they're going to fire everybody. Well, that's the thing. McDonald's is doing that shit either way. They can pay $5 an hour. They can pay $50 an hour. They're still automating that shit.
And honestly, and should they not? Should they
I
not
think they should. I mean, as a
advance to
consumer,
point
I
where-
prefer it. I mean, I don't eat McDonald's, but like when I go anywhere that's got a screen, I ain't talking to nobody. I'm gonna talk to the screen.
I mean, nobody's going against Tesla for trying to make autopilot work, right? Because isn't that
Right.
going to be truckers and bus drivers that are out of
Well,
work?
that is one thing that does get talked about a lot, even by Elon. Is like
I've actually
that's
never heard
because that's the
this.
number one job in America is truck driving. So yeah, that automating trucks is like the biggest, probably the scariest thing that we can do.
Scary you from a standpoint of it's scary to have these semi trucks driving themselves
No,
on the road,
no,
or scary
in
from
terms of job loss.
But don't you think we just need to start getting these people who are in these type of jobs into different types of jobs, or the
this type of thing has to happen, right? No, I'm not against it. It's just one of those things that what's the solution? I mean, and that's where some people talk about a what's it called whenever you just get a wage for existing?
A living wage. I mean,
no, because that's what you get currently.
That's not what I get currently. I get a little more than the living wage. But
yeah, well, but like there are some proponents, people that want to have just a national wage that everyone receives just for being.
I'm from who? From this government that's already trillions of dollars.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, that's who's supposed to be paying this. But I can't remember. It's got a name. This wage I'm speaking of, I just can't think of it.
The free wage.
I mean, yeah, basically, I don't remember what it's called, but there are people that. But I mean, to some degree, that's not an awful idea. It does.
The money just has to come from somewhere. Like that's the quote unquote awful part about it is there's no real plan for it. But I just get so mad when people won't let companies technologically advance, and then they have to get a bailout because you don't want to lose all those jobs that you shouldn't be paying for anymore because they should have been automated by now.
Well, do you feel like maybe there should be, a solution for this could be some kind of automation tax, and that would also pay for the.
You heard about the EV tax coming up? They're trying to do now.
No, what's this?
Electric vehicles. They're trying to tax people. They're talking about implementing taxes because they pay less money in gas, which gas is taxed to support the road infrastructure. But you're allowed to drive on the roads even if you don't have to buy gas for your vehicle because it's an electric vehicle. So they're going to tax them.
I have not heard of this. That's fucking stupid. But
it's kind of like what a toll road is exactly. But
it is right. I actually really like toll roads. I may be the only human being in the world that said those words ever, but I don't like paying for toll roads.
I was gonna say I need to hear the reason why you like toll roads first.
Every toll road I've been on in North Carolina is a fantastic road. It's very maintained. It's a pleasure to drive on. It's great.
It's a pleasure to drive.
It is. I mean, it's a different driving experience than every other road because it's so well maintained. It is the smoothest road. There's not tons of cars because not everyone. I mean, the toll roads around here are totally optional for the most part too. So like for instance, if I want to go to the airport and I take the toll road, I can get there in like 30 minutes. If I go down like the interstate, otherwise it's way longer to get there because there's so many other people on the road and traffic and shit. But toll road, ain't nobody there. Straight shot to the airport. It's like $6.
Yeah, I mean, their toll roads definitely have their positive aspects. Like the Dulles Toll Road out here is also one that you can. Actually, the funny thing is the Dulles Toll Road, you only have to pay for it if you're not going to the airport. If you're going to the airport, it's free. You jump on it, and it there's only toll booths coming one way. Like so, you only have to pay when you're getting off. But based on which direction you're going, and it's to and from the airport type of deal. So in theory, if you really wanted to, and it worked with your schedule, you could like get on the toll road, loop through the airport, and if you were close enough, and like turn around and go back the other direction and just drive it for free all the time.
That's funny.
It's possible, but yeah, it can definitely help. But the traffic is so congested around here. Anyway,
is your toll road highly maintained too? Like the most fantastic road?
I mean, I wouldn't say the most fantastic road. I guess for the most part, like the Beltway out here is like the 6-lane superhighway that goes around the entire Washington D.C. area. It is quite well maintained anyway, and it's free. It's not a toll road. It's just fucking busy as shit all the time.
Maybe I mean, I guess DC is also smaller too, so like the taxes. Yeah, you are taxed. You're just not represented. So I guess like there's less things to spend the taxes on too, maybe because like North Carolina roads for the most part are pretty shit.
I can't figure out how to get back into our base from this cave I went into. And it's not even like far. And I thought I was just, like, oh, there's water over here, at least to the outside. I'll just swim out of here. And I can't even figure that out to get to the surface.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not like a lover of toll roads, but I do feel like, I don't know.
I feel like I would have sex with toll roads
yeah.
at night.
Want to marry one,
I'm not a lover of the toll road. Oh God, I'm gonna.
So yeah, I don't know. I guess I see the benefit sometimes of paying those tolls to see a well-maintained road. But I mean, I don't know what the whole like overall. I mean, I feel like there's enough taxes that happen that's not just. I mean, are only gas taxes distributed to pay for road repair?
No, I don't think it's only, but
okay. Because hell, I mean, the amount of money they charge on cigarette tax alone should just like cover everything. I feel like
the problem is I don't even know if the smokers aren't a big.
Did we talk about the change to the legal smoking age?
Oh, we did not, but they did up it to 21 here in DC.
They did it nationwide as a federal change.
Oh, I didn't realize it was federal. I thought it was like state.
Yeah. No, Trump signed that into law right before Christmas, sometime around there, right before New Year's, one or the other. And whenever they did it, they said it would go into effect. I mean, this doesn't affect me. I don't smoke cigarettes, but and even if I did, I'm 21. They said it would go into effect sometime in 2020, and then it went into effect immediately. And like, I was kind of surprised. Well, for one thing, I thought like anyone that's like 18 or whatever would probably be stocking up, knowing that it's coming. But like literally the next day, every gas station around here, everything around here was like, federal whatever, blah blah blah. This is now the age for buying cigarettes or whatever. So what do you think about that?
I mean,
can you have an unbiased opinion not being 19 or 20? You think?
Well, it's hard to, for one, but. It's weird.
Like, imagine if you were Jeff working at McDonald's, 19 years old. You smoked cigarettes back then, right?
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is, it might have stopped me from smoking.
You think it would have?
Well, I think it would have delayed my smoking. Because I never illegally was a smoker.
Okay.
I didn't smoke until I was legally able to smoke cigarettes.
What percentage? Yeah, I mean, obviously we're not going to have any data on this, but what percentage of 19-year-olds that have been legally smoking for at least a year do you think instantly just quit smoking?
Well, and the thing that none. I can't say none. I'm sure there's some, but the thing that's very difficult is think when alcohol apparently back in the day was 18 was the drinking age.
Mm-hmm.
They raised it to 21. It was back in like the 70s or something, right?
Right.
They raised it to 21, but you were grandfathered in.
Right. Yeah, I do remember that.
So
they didn't do that this time, though.
You're right. I was kind of surprised to see they didn't grandfather in certain years because that is hard as shit to be like, hey, you were allowed to do this yesterday. You're addicted. Illegal.
Right. That's what's so crazy to me. Like, these people are obviously addicted to this substance now. But you know what? You can't buy anymore immediately.
Yeah,
no warning.
I find that a little hard to swallow that they did it. And I'll be honest, I think it shows how the smoking culture really is losing ground, because I did not really hear of big complaints.
Well, I mean, but it's not just cigarettes. It's vaping, everything. All those things are bottled up in this. This all came about because of the THC vape pens or whatever that killed some people. And then, lack of research. And they're just like, well, vaping is murdering people.
Did they raise the age of buying cannabis on the states it's legal?
That was already 21.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. At first I was like, I don't know, but yeah, no, that was already 21.
I do find it still odd, and this is one of the arguments for why is the drinking age 21 as opposed to 18. When you tell somebody they're legally an adult, they can go to war for your country, all that fun stuff. Yet you still can limit the things that they can purchase like that. I find that strange.
Well, that was one of the things I've noticed on every store has the same. It's like they got sent a fucking memo and they all printed the same thing out and put it up because they all look identical. But the bottom line says military exceptions no longer apply. I don't know what that means. Was there a time whenever military people could buy cigarettes at like 17?
Did that happen January 1st, 2020?
I don't. I think it was actually before.
Well, because it went into effect
maybe it was
in October here.
Oh,
like October.
Oh,
1
that was
or
before
like
it became a federal law. Then even.
So I wonder if there was military exceptions at that point.
Maybe.
Or if they were just saying like military exceptions because maybe when they changed the drinking age, if you were in the military, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just
gotcha. Right. Yeah, I didn't either. I was like, what was the military exception?
Yeah, that is weird to talk about.
Because that is always the argument you hear. You can serve your country, but you can't have a beer.
Yeah, well, and it's a valid argument. You could be forced to serve your country technically.
Right. Right.
I mean, I think it is a valid argument to say that. And and that's where I don't know. They're just taking it away of something that you know is an addictive substance. You know, it is really weird. Because had you made it completely illegal, that's one thing.
God, can you imagine that?
But
whoa. So let's pretend that's what they did. Since you're a legal age,
a lot more people talking about it because it affects a lot more people. Clearly.
Yeah, right.
So the thing is, so if you're talking like cigarette wise, I haven't smoked a cigarette in God knows how many years at this point. Vaping wise, I would have been distraught, but I mean, I'll be honest, I actually haven't vaped since New Year's Eve.
Oh, really? Is that your resolution?
I'm trying to cut that out of my life, and so far I'm successful. It fucking sucks, but I'm successful.
How long do you think it'll suck? Because I mean, I feel like there'll be a point, just like with cigarettes, where
today's the 16th. It's been 16 days, so it still sucks right now.
Still sucks. Got it.
I don't know, because eventually at some point, like when I quit smoking as well, it was, I got over the wanting a cigarette, and then cigarettes started tasting terrible. Like the smell of them was terrible to me when I went out someplace, as opposed to being something that I was like, oh my God, I want one so bad.
Right.
Like right when I quit. So I don't know how long it's going to be. Hopefully I stick to it and everything goes smoothly.
I feel like to some degree quitting vaping is easier because like that cigarette smell, like you said, like that brings you in, but you're not going to smell vaping anywhere.
Well, true. But I guess what really got hard about vaping is I did it everywhere because you could do it inside, You
weren't supposed to, but you could.
No, but I mean, it depends on when you say supposed to. Sure, you weren't supposed to be doing it at like places of business and all, but I guess anybody can smoke in their house too. But even when I did smoke, I didn't smoke inside the house. I had to go, make a special trip outside. I did own rent apartments before, with a bunch of other smokers that we all decided that we were okay with smoking inside, and I should realize that that's a whole different time. Back in the time when you used to be able to smoke in restaurants and all that stuff, constantly.
Right. I hated that as a non-smoker. Like the whole smoking section thing is not a thing. Like your cigarette smoke ain't just hanging out in that section.
I do remember once going to this bar or bar restaurant that we went in, and there was a bunch of us that were smokers, and it was back when you could still smoke and stuff in the bars, and it was smoking or not, and we said smoking, and they walked us down like 3 stairs, so like the lower mezzanine type of deal, and they're like, here's your table, and it was literally the table with the wall behind the table was a small wall that was about 2 feet high, and on top of it were the bars, the railings that were separating the upper tables that were pushed right up against the railings. And literally I looked up, and it's just like there was like this 6-year-old kid and with their 7-year-old brother at the edges. And I'm looking at my buddies, and we're just kind of looking at each other, and none of us we were holding on to like our box of cigarettes. We were going to smoke one. None of us would light up because we were like, this is fucked up, because right above us, and it was a non-smoking section. It's not like the kids were in the smoking section. They had the non-smoking section was directly above the smoking section, which just means everything's wafting right there, like it's like that's what the smoke is designed to do. And we looked at the server, and we were like, you need to move us. And she goes like, She was like, what do you mean? We're like, we wanted to be in the smoking section. And she's like, because we got confused. Maybe we're not in the smoking section. Like,
right.
And she's like, no. This whole lower area is the smoking section. We're like, but there's kids right above us in the non-smoking section. Like, this is just not appropriate. So we made her move us to another table, which wasn't much better, but at least there was, I think if we were removed, there was nobody above us for the whole time we ate our meal. So we felt guilt-free about it. But,
yeah.
God, it was so...
Yeah, I remember it always being like that, where it was like not really a thing. God, the first time I ever flew, me and my dad and grandma went to Oregon, and I was like 8. So this was like 1989 or something.
Still smoking planes back then?
Oh, yeah. The whole fucking flight. He's just in there smoking nonstop, the ashtray inside the seat, like the arm of the seat.
I thought it was illegal in like the late or early 70s.
No, this definitely... I don't remember when exactly. I think I was about 8, though.
On planes. Oh, 1988.
Okay, so maybe I was 7 then. But yeah, I remember him just smoking the whole trip.
Well, that was domestic.
And we were,
flights.
we were in economy. I mean, I remember getting served manicotti was our meal, and like it was like flying on planes have changed a lot.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. Sev still dresses up to fly planes and, thinks it's an experience like people used to do back in the day. And people are like, oh, man, back in my day, you used to dress up. It was a wonderful thing. Well, you also got meals and, things that you don't get anymore. Like, though I will say, I've been watching a lot of weird YouTube videos on, like, pilots and flight attendants and things like that, because the type of lifestyle intrigues me from a like how do you do it standpoint, because you're like away from home constantly and all this stuff. But a lot of people, they were talking, which of course started suggesting all these people with like these travel channels and stuff in my YouTube feed, so I get addicted to some of the cool videos and cool trips people were taking. But they kept talking about trying to fly in business class. You're getting standby in business class. And I was like, but that doesn't sound like okay, they just want to get standby in the plane. I didn't realize that their business class is what first class is.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it ever changed names. Yet then I heard somebody talk about a meal on the plane, and he's like, I wouldn't put this as a first class rate meal, but it's definitely a business class rate meal. And I was like, wait, now I don't know what the difference is anymore.
So it depends on the plane, actually. Like with Delta doesn't call first class anymore. They call it Delta 1. Most of their flights don't have a Delta 1 section. The first class section in Delta is the ones that are the beds, basically. If you're on a plane that has beds, that's first class. Otherwise, it's business class.
Business class? Like, so there's no first class anymore?
There is, but it's only on like for instance with Delta, it's mostly international flights or like some flights that are like one side of the U.S. to the other. But you
said if they have beds, it's business class.
No. If it's beds, it's called Delta 1, which is first class.
Oh, sorry.
And so
they really don't have first class anymore because they changed the name.
Well, Delta did, but other airlines. But this is still true with other airlines. I'm just giving you Delta's example. Other airlines some of them still call it first class, but for the most part, they've gotten rid of first class and replaced it with business class, which is an upgrade experience, but it's not the full like 3-course meal with a bed and all that stuff. I've only been on one that was inside the United States, and that was from here to Seattle that had the bed experience that wasn't overseas.
I've flown first class once in my life, and I thought it was like luxury. However, it was a random upgrade that they gave myself and my party when we came back from Las Vegas, the only time I've ever been to Las Vegas. So there's 4 of us. A 4-hour flight between Las Vegas direct to Flint, Michigan. There was only like 8 chairs in the first class, and all they were, in looking back on it, because I didn't know what first class was or business class or
right. This sounds like business already. I have a feeling.
No. This sounds like basic economy, because it was a slightly wider seat. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I get this wonderful seat. And the guy served me a little bottle of liquor.
Okay, yeah, that's silly.
That was it. The seats did not recline into beds. There was no in-screen entertainment at the time anyway. It was like 2000 or something like that. But that was my first class experience that I was so grateful for, because I was better than everybody in the back of the plane. And it is clearly not
right
anything close to first class. It's I don't know if you've ever flown Southwest, but
I have not.
Southwest is the basic no frills thing, but I love Southwest because it's their seats are bigger. It's only like 2 inches more legroom, but they're 2 inches more legroom, and
It's not
all the
coming from
seats
you.
are the exact same. And it's noticeable if you're used to being on.
I tried to save you.
It's okay. I got my wings out. It's noticeable if you're used to being on like American Airlines, like the cheapest seats you can get. You know, they squish you in there. And I feel like basically the seat that I had was slightly bigger than the Southwest seat is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most of Delta's business class is like that, especially if you're on one of the planes where it's like two seats on one side, and then one on the other in business class. Like those seats are not much bigger, and a lot of times, like most of the flights that you're in that class are short flights too, because it's a tiny plane, and so they don't even give you a meal or anything. So it's really not that big of a deal. But then often those upgrades are only like $60 or $80 or something, so it might be worth it depending on how you feel.
Depends on how long the flight is, in my mind.
Right.
So.
But anyways, we probably should call this episode. We've gone.
Yeah, shit, we've been going for a long time.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
See you guys next time.
See ya.